Hello. This is the famous author Mark wrobel coming to you live with another discussion about a book and some other issues. Well, today's books we're going to discuss is The Fall of the American Empire. Now, my book is available on Amazon. It's available worldwide. All you have to do is look up Mark wrobel's books and you'll definitely find it. Now, today's discussion we're going to discuss is the crisis in Ukraine. And believe me, and it's not going to go well for the Ukrainians. You know, you got these talking heads such as Sean Hannity, Fox and Friends, Rachel Campbell, Duffy talking about that Ukrainians are winning, Ukrainians are winning. No, the Ukrainians are not going to win this war, unfortunately. And that is because here's the whole deal. Because you have two Slavic strong men fighting for what they believe in, ladies and gentlemen. And unfortunately, in that case, nobody wins. Because look, Vladimir Zelensky, we all know who he is, whatever. But in reality, Vladimir Zelensky cannot afford to lose face in front of his Ukrainian people. Neither does Vladimir Putin. Vladimir Putin cannot afford to lose face in front of his people either. So this war in Ukraine will go on. It's just going to be another quagmire for us as the American people, just like Afghanistan was. Now, here's the other part of the deal, is that unfortunately these wars in Afghanistan, Afghanistan, and now we got ourselves involved in Ukraine. That's gonna bankrupt us even more. Now, to be honest with you, the United States as a nation is already bankrupt, ladies and gentlemen. So in this case, we are already bankrupt nation. Now, with these wars in Ukraine, and since we lost the war in Afghanistan and Iraq, we're going to be a third world nation. We have to deal with inflation, ladies and gentlemen. Now, let me tell you what's really going on in Ukraine, because from my sources, what they have been telling me is that Ukraine, unfortunately, the reason they're not going to win this war is because they have trouble replacing their soldiers that they're losing on the battlefield. That's number one. Number two, unfortunately, Ukraine is worse corrupt than America is. America is corrupt as a nation as it is, but Ukraine and Eastern Europe is even more corrupt. Now, from what I've been hearing from certain news sources like BBC, Fox News to a point. Fox News has been on this, which I do admire them for this, and some other radio talk show hosts have been on this, and unfortunately, some of the aid that we are sending to Ukraine, and this hasn't been confirmed. This is just speculation, because from what I've been hearing from some of American talk show hosts, some from Fox News, they're saying some of the aid that we are sending to Ukraine, ladies and gentlemen, is being sold on the black market. So in this case, unfortunately, Zelensky is not going to win this war. Now, here's the deal. See, because, and you have to understand, you have two strong Slavic men fighting for what they believe in. I mean, one believes that he's right, Vladimir Putin believes that he's right, and Vladimir Zelensky believes that he's right. Now, in this case, who do you think wins? Nobody. Now, Vladimir Putin, when he began this special operations, as he calls it, he said to denazify the Ukrainian people, blah blah blah. Okay, but see, those of you who haven't studied history do not know that yes, during World War II, there were Nazi divisions from Ukraine. There were Ukrainians in the Nazi SS and all those things, but see, you have not been taught world history, so you don't know that. So in this case, now, is there a possibility for a peaceful solution to this Ukrainian crisis? Yes, there is. But unfortunately, there's going to have to be some give and take on both sides. Now, especially more on the Ukrainian side. Now, the only thing I believe it can be settled is Vladimir Zelensky has got to understand that he is not going to get all of Ukraine back in one piece. He's not going to be able to do that. Those parts of Ukraine, such as Crimea, Lugansk, and the other region, that's going to have to go to Russia, regardless of whatever you think. I mean, now some of you may say, "Oh, do you support Vladimir Putin?" No, I do not, and I am not a Republican, nor I'm a Democrat. What I am is an American nationalist. I really don't care what's going on in Ukraine. All I care about is that make sure that the American people prosper, that they make a good living, and they live the American dream. The only thing I care about is our borders, our language, and our culture. That's it. And that is the American culture. Thank you very much. But the thing is, what you have to understand is that that unfortunately there's not going to be a clear winner or a clear loser in this Ukrainian war. There's going to have to be a stalemate in this war because I mean it's impossible. Here's the whole rub and the knob. Now, Vladimir Putin cannot afford for Russia to go bankrupt. Neither does Vladimir Zelensky of Ukraine. He cannot afford for Ukraine to go bankrupt. Now, because of Ukraine, some people say, "Oh, we have inflation," all those wonderful things. Yes, inflation is a problem here in the United States, but here's the rub and the nub of this whole ball game. The wheat from Ukraine is not being exported properly, and so pretty soon, or if we're not experiencing this already in the United States, ladies and gentlemen, we're gonna have a fall of the American empire, as I mentioned in my book. But it's gonna get a lot worse than that, because the thing is, pretty soon we are going to experience starvation if we're not experiencing it already because of inflation and all those things. But the wheat because you have to understand, we as American people, because of the regulations and all these things, we import wheat from Ukraine, ladies and gentlemen. So sooner or later, we're going to experience starvation if we're not experiencing it already. Now, there's a question of Poland. The Polish government had no guts to ask this question. Okay, we're helping the Ukrainians, we're giving them all this equipment, all this other thing. But has the Polish government in Poland ask themselves the question, what if the Ukrainians cannot hold the line? How are we going to be able to defend ourselves? Have they thought about it? Now, can Poland defend themselves? Yes, they can. Should they rely on NATO? Not really, because let me tell you, the article of the NATO pact. I don't remember the number of the article. It says that NATO may, in case of conflict, NATO may defend a certain nation. It does not say that it will. So what can Poland do to prepare to defend itself in case the Ukrainians cannot hold the line? Because really, I don't care what the talking heads on Fox News or any other news outlet they say that Ukraine is winning. Ukraine is not winning, so there's going to have to be some sort of peace settlement. And one of the things in the peace settlement that Vladimir Zelensky better realize that he's not going to get all of his Ukraine back. Some of it has to go to Russia, or either Vladimir Putin in Russia is going to go bankrupt, or Vladimir Zelensky is going to go bankrupt. Now, you're telling me, now you may call me a Putin supporter and all that stuff. I am not one of those things. What I am in this video, what I'm doing is I'm going to give you my opinion only, and my analysis. That's what I'm going to give you. And unfortunately, because to be honest with you, America cannot keep supporting the Ukrainians, because we will go bankrupt faster than we think. Now, there's another clue. Now, what can Poland do to protect this? Should they rely on NATO? Not totally. They have to be self-sufficient in defense. That means they're going to have to get their manufacturing plants back, because let me tell you, all their coal mining and all their resources are in German hands. Now, Poland used to make cars such as Fiat 125 and Fiat 126 based on Italian licensing. Those two manufacturing plants were sold to the Daimler Corporation, Mercedes Corporation. So Poland does not have any car manufacturing capability, because all those manufacturers, all those shipyards are foreign owned. They're owned by foreigners. They're not owned by the Polish people or the Polish government. They are owned by foreigners. So, for example, Sikorsky aircraft. This plant used to be in Lwowska, and it's still there, ladies and gentlemen. But however, Polish people don't own it. It's owned by Sikorsky aircraft. So they don't have any so-called manufacturing capability. They're going to have to buy their ships. They're going to have to buy their aircraft from a foreign manufacturer, ladies and gentlemen. So in that case, Poland cannot hold against Russia. Now, what else should Poland do? Should Poland get their manufacturing capability back? Absolutely. Poland should restate mandatory draft. Now, they do have volunteer draft and all that stuff like we have in America, but unfortunately, Poland is too small of a nation, so volunteer draft is not going to work for them. And if the Polish people are, and if the Polish government is so dependent on NATO, if Polish people think that the NATO is going to protect them, there's no way that they're not capable of doing that. Because they can't. The country is just too small. So what Poland should do is they should restore their mandatory draft like they have in Israel. And I mean, the only because the only country left in the world that has mandatory draft is Israel, and it is a good thing. And so in that case, you don't have to worry about. So Poland does not have to worry if they restore their mandatory draft. They don't have to worry about NATO. If NATO helps them, great. And if they don't, then they will have to defend themselves. Now, the other clue, that unfortunately Vladimir Putin is going to win this conflict, in my opinion, because he got rid of this guy named Prigozhin that owns the Wagner Group when they had that military coup. And the reason they got rid of Prigozhin is because he wasn't gonna go with the agenda of Vladimir Putin, so they got rid of him. But in this particular case, no matter what we do, there's gonna have to be a settlement, because Vladimir Zelensky will have to give up some of his land to the Russians. Unfortunately, that's the only way that he will save face, and both of them are gonna have to sit at a table, and talk. Vladimir Putin will have to sit at a table, and Vladimir Zelensky will have to sit at a table and just talk things out, because this war is not economically sustainable. This was economically unsustainable because we cannot afford it, and not only us, but some of the nations are trying to gradually reduce aid to Ukraine in that case. Because they know that they cannot afford to have a bankrupt nation. That's why. And then the other thing that we do have to talk about is, and it's like what I'm telling you, this war, those two wars in Afghanistan and Iraq already bankrupted us, and now this Ukrainian war will definitely bankrupt United States of America. Now, there's another thing that we have to understand, is that this war with Ukraine cannot go on like this, because either of those people will see the problem. And see, here's the problem with Ukraine, because when you have two Slavic men going at it, then you better get out of the way, because the other people will get hurt. Now, I'm going to end with this. I'm going to quote something to you from The Art of War, from the book Art of War, that was written by Sun Tzu, and I'm going to end this YouTube video with this. It says like this: those people who do not know their enemies, although they will win every battle, they will still lose the war. But if you know your enemy, then victory will come to you as a friend. But in this case, those talking heads on Fox News, they do not know their enemy. They don't know the Russian people. Look, the Russian people, if they have to eat wood, then they will eat wood for lunch. But American people cannot do that. That is because they're lazy, they're too dependent on social services, etc., etc. And unfortunately, because of this war in Ukraine, those social services will go bye-byes, and and the American people will lose their safety net. Unfortunately, that is the consequences of the wars in Ukraine and this unsustainable economic model in the United States. Now, some of you may ask, what gives you the right to talk about Ukraine and all this? I'm going to tell you. First of all, I'm a son of a Polish immigrant. Okay? That's number one. Number two, I hold a degree in computer science and homeland security management. Three, I do speak Polish, English, Russian, and some Arabic. And four, I have served for 20 years in the United States military, so I kind of know what's going on around the world. So I'm going to end it up with this. You can subscribe if you like this. You can subscribe to my channel. You can look for my books on Amazon. They're Mark Wrobel's books. I have 5 books published. You can get in touch with me by Twitter, YouTube, etc., etc., if you do like this. So please subscribe. If you do like this, also please subscribe to my channel.